Soundstripe. Soundstripe. Soundstripe.
What you guys think? What do you think? Is it good? Oh, it tastes good and smells good. Good evening, y'all. It is the Hillbilly Think Tank with me, Spencer Keck, and I am running for Hardin County Magistrate, District 3. Now, y'all, I am the educated hillbilly. No, that's not an oxymoron. There have been educated, erudite, emancipated hillbillies in these parts ever since Daniel Boone came to the Cumberland Gap with my kin. So, what do we come to the Gap for? We came to the Cumberland Gap because the coastal elites would not let us enjoy personal life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So we came through here to create it. And that is what I am pursuing and will pursue if you'll elect me for your magistrate. Now, in national news, it seems like this Captain Bone Spurs just can't get his story straight. First, he's not Jesus when he portrays himself as Jesus in a meme and posts it. He's a doctor, even though he clearly had the vestments and the robes, that is, of a Jesus Christ. But oh no, he said that he was posting himself as a doctor with the glowing orb and the demons coming out of the sky along with angels. But be that as may, seems like, that one's swept on by now, just like all the other crazy stories he comes up with. Iran, we don't know if we're coming or going. One day the war's on, next day it's over. Strait of Hormuz still is not open, no matter how much Whiskey Pete Kegsbreath wants to tell us it is. And now we've got the White House Correspondents' Dinner. He has refused to go to every one of these until this year. And now, as soon as he decided to have one, the security was ultra lax. And many people are now believing this is just another one of his, scams, one of his feats, like when he used to call in and pretend to be someone else to talk about himself when he was in Manhattan to, pump himself up, to trump his antics. So, well, does it matter? That's the question, I have. I mean, we know that this guy is now off the rails. It's obvious to all but maybe 29% of us. He is off the reservation. As they say in show business, he has jumped the shark. He's clearly not doing what he was expected to do when it came to being the no wars president. He is not helping when it comes to make America healthy again by allowing Roundup to not only continue production, but saying that there can be no federal mandates against the use of it, and trying to help in shutting down lawsuits against it. Whereas many, many people have cancer and COPD and other diseases from it. But hey, he's getting the grift, the kickbacks.
From the Wave Storm Tracking Team,
So,
lightning has been detected near your location.
what are we to do about it? How does it hit our pocketbook? Well, the thing is, if you listen to Lindsey Graham, now we have to build that East Wing complex. And we have to spend $400 million taxpayer dollars. So 400 million taxpayer dollars, and yet we have no dollars when it comes to feeding the poor. We've got no money for taking care of vets in the VA. They're sacking people left and right, getting rid of providers, getting rid of people that help veterans get their ratings so they can get the care they need. Yeah, no money for that. But interior design jobs that were supposed to be free from people contributing to the building of it by the goodness of their sweet little elite hearts. Yeah, that's the part that we're all missing here. So while Trump's telling us we have to allow his pet project to continue, build this luxury hall with ornate gold and everything else he wants in it. And of course, by the way, build the arch for him, the Arch de Trump. Yeah.
From the Wave Storm
No
Tracking
one
Team, lightning has been detected near
asking-
your location.
No one's asking, who are the donors? Now, he's let it slip up, even though there's supposed to be secret donors. They don't want to be known. Why don't they want to be known? Why aren't they proud to be known? You know, he's let it slip that Tim Cook was one of them. He's let it slip that Palantir is another one of them. Also let it slip that Bezos and others. You know, we know really who most of them are. There's still some that are secret, but we're sure he's going to let them slip. But the question is, we know that he is a quid pro guy. So what is the quid pro quo that he's looking for and that they're looking for? We know that they want to have their secrets in the basement. He's talking about, oh, there's major security below this ballroom. Major intelligence gathering. Yeah, major intelligence gathering on us. That's what Palantir does. That's their modus operandi. They're all about spying on us in order to prop up the elite billionaires in Silicon Valley. And so, are we going to allow now, on top of them supposedly donating enough for this thing to be built, even though we know it's gone way over budget? It's supposed to have been 200 million. Then it was up to 400 million. Supposedly they were going to donate. Now Lindsey Graham saying they're just going to appropriate that money for the building of it. Interesting, since a court has said that they cannot build it. Yeah, very interesting that the only time he decides to go to a White House Correspondents' Dinner, this happens before it even really gets started. And then immediately, everyone on his side is shouting, oh, this is why we have to have this little place for him to throw his galas and balls. It's like it's never been safe enough for any president in history before him to hold a White House Correspondents' Dinner or anything like it anywhere else. You know, it's as if, oh, it's been so dangerous for all presidents in the past. It hasn't been. You know, this White House is very secure, but yeah, we're supposed to buy it. We're supposed to also believe that all of these billionaires are donating to this out of the goodness of their own heart and not expecting something in return. I'm not buying it. And I don't think either, I shouldn't buy it. You shouldn't buy it. And definitely the government shouldn't be buying it. And taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for this fiasco. So we've got to push back.
Are you tracking the descent into fascism? When two people who built your system start using that kind of language, something fundamental has shifted. I'm Mel, I have a PhD in computer science, and I analyze AI developments to understand what's actually happening beneath all of this hype. What is unfolding inside Palantir right now tells us something super important about what happens when surveillance infrastructure meets ideological certainty. Just for brief context, Palantir builds data integration platforms. That's the boring way to say it. The more accurate way is they build software that takes information scattered across dozens of incompatible databases and makes it searchable, mappable, analyzable in real time. The company was founded in 2003, named after the all-seeing orbs from the Lord of the Rings. Technically, they're from the Silmarillion, made by Fëanor, my hero, but let's cut the daydreaming. Basically, the ones that let you see across vast distances, but also in the books kind of slowly corrupt anyone who uses them. One could argue that corruption was done by Sauron, but that's pretty irrelevant for this video. It's basically quite subtle branding by the company. Their customer list is the CIA, ICE, the Department of Homeland Security, the UK's National Health Service, the US military, that kind of people. They've held government contracts worth billions, positioning themselves as essential infrastructure for national security and public sector operations.
And if you see that headline there from Fortune magazine, Palantir and ICE connections draw fire as questions are raised about a tool tracking Medicaid data to find people to arrest. Pure fascism.
And for 2 decades, Palantir employees could rationalize the external criticism. Privacy advocates pushed back, civil liberties group questioned the work, but internally, the framing basically held. We're the ones making sure surveillance power doesn't get abused. We're building safeguards. We're the good guys in a complicated situation. Well, that framing just flipped. And here's what changed. In January 2026, ICE agents shot and killed Alex Pretty, a 37-year-old intensive care nurse in Minneapolis. He was filming law enforcement with his phone, directing traffic around a protest. Bystander video shows that he was unarmed, just holding his phone when he was shot multiple times. I'm sure
So, just in case we forget,
you all remember that one. Palantir's software powers ICE operations. Specifically, they built something called Elite, a tool that scrapes Medicaid databases and other government records to generate deportation leads. It creates dossiers on people, assigns confidence scores to their home addresses, maps potential targets. Nearly 8 million Medicaid patients' data were repurposed for immigration enforcement. When Pretty was killed, Palantir employees started asking questions in internal Slack channels. Basic questions: were we involved? Are we doing anything to stop or repeat? The company's response was, according to Wired reporting, Palantir started auto-deleting conversations in at least one Slack channel after 7 days. Just stop and think about that for just a second. The company that sells data analytics and transparency to governments began scrubbing its own employees' questions about whether their own software helped facilitate a killing. Then in late February,
so yeah, it's definite they're facilitating murder. So now we've got to ask ourselves, is this what we want in the basement of the White House? Do we want them to have that close access with the president to us and what we're doing? So the thing is, we've got to ask ourselves, is this what we want our taxpayers' money to be paying for when we know that they are absolutely unwilling to let us know what's really going on in that basement? They're trying to hide the fact that Palantir is going to be down there with their AI software and that they're going to be tracking us with the president and anyone that works with them. So this is not something we should let abide at all. And yet we are. No one is pushing back because they're all getting their quid pro quo and they don't want to give it up, no matter how much of our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is taken away by their actions.
Transparency to governments began scrubbing its own employees' questions about whether their own. In February, a U.S. airstrike hit a girls' elementary school in Iran. 120 school children died. Multiple investigations concluded the strike relied on outdated targeting data. The school had been walled off from a military compound over a decade ago, but the target list was never updated. Precision weapons, 10-year-old spreadsheet. Palantir's platforms are embedded in U.S. military targeting systems. Again, employees asked internally, were we involved? CEO Alex Karp's solution was that he released an hour-long pre-recorded video that, according to reporters, avoided specifics about product capabilities or ICE's use of Palantir software. He offered employees one-on-one briefings, but only if they signed NDAs first. You can't ask questions about whether your software killed people unless you legally agree never to tell anyone the answers. What we're watching is the difference between external criticism and internal crisis.
So that tells us all we need to know. If they're making their employees sign an NDA when they want a debriefing on whether or not their software is helping kill people, then we're in a crisis. And this is taking money away that could be used right here in Hardin County. That could be used to help us with our school infrastructure, build our roads, pay for our own county-wide transportation system for the public. But yeah, we'd rather spend $400 million of taxpayers' money to build a ballroom on top of the money that supposedly and assuredly these billionaires have already donated, because they've already got their infrastructure of AI built down the basement. Their intelligence gathering is already in the underground. They're just waiting to have the ballroom sitting on top of it to hide it out of view. But unfortunately for us, but unfortunately for these billionaires, the president can't keep his mouth shut. And he's already said all this out loud. So that's what we all really need to dig into and push back on. Now, how, you guys, you might ask, how can you push back? Well, one way is using 5 calls. Let's see if we can see it here. Not sure if I can get a good thing, but there's this app called 5 Calls. The number 5 space calls. You use that and you can spend 5 minutes making 5 calls to your congressperson, your senator, all the representatives, and push back on things like this. Now, if they're not pushing back or they don't have one of the calls set up to be a call, against what's going on with AI, which I'm pretty sure actually they do or did, because I've done some before here on here. If they don't, you can always use their script that they've written for the other ones and just, change it to your words for what you're talking about. But they actually do have one here, and it's called No White House Ballroom. So I click on it, and it has the 3 people I should call: Mitch McConnell, Rand Paul, and Brett Guthrie. It narrows it down to where it tells me real easy and smooth who the people are that represent me that I need to call about this problem. So that's a great thing. They've got one for reform the FISA Section 702 to stop government surveillance. The vote is this week. So we need the call now. There's a lot of other things on here, but yeah, there are things like on here like demand the resignation of FBI Director Kash Patel. So you can basically pick the things that you really think are in your top priorities, spend 5 minutes, make a few calls, and know that you've done part of your duty as a citizen. Because part of civil engagement is not just voting, it's making sure those that are voted into power stay responsible to us. So 5 calls, and it focuses it right down to me here in Elizabethtown, where I'm located. Do the same for you wherever you are. So download that 5 calls app and get to work for democracy. All right, let's look at where Trump's approval ratings are. Because it seems like this guy's oblivious to the fact that even with his stunts at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, his dressing up as Jesus, seems like he's oblivious to the fact that he's really not winning over any more Americans. He's actually losing folks. It's actually not helping him. His approval ratings are hitting a record low, finally. Trump's approval rating hits record low in another poll as voters say the economy was better under the Biden administration. You know that galls him. So the Iran war has driven up gas prices and the cost of everything, and people are having no more of it. Is April 28th. Approval rating is his lowest ever, and it's also one of the lowest ever for any president. So 85% of voters are concerned that the higher gas prices will lead to an increase in the cost of living, and just over half, 52% of voters, say the economy is worse under Trump than it was under President Joe Biden. Contrary to most other polls, the survey found about 52% of U.S. airstrikes in Iran are not popular. So, what are we going to do? His approval rating dropped at one point to 37%, and his disapproval rating increased 5 points to 59% in The Economist and YouGov's data. So, looking at the data, and I know the guy probably at least knows how to do that. Yeah, it's not good. So, his approval rating with Republicans remains strong, but we've got to remember, most people now are voting as independents. So it's the independents and other voters that he's got to worry about, and that the Republicans actually have to worry about. The guardians of the pedophiles are not popular right now. He already had a problem once he would not release those files. Then they shot Renee Good. Then they shot Alex Preddy. And then he decided to go to this war that no one understands with Iran, after he said no wars under his regime. And the costs are going up. So, yeah, we are right now at an inflection point. And the way you can push back, 5 calls app. Make your 5 calls. Let's get the word out that we are not happy. They know they've got to do something. We're right now at the season for our May votes to decide who's going to be on our ballot in November. So it's time. We've got to put people on the ballot that actually have principles, and good principles, honest principles, principles of integrity, principles of honor, principles that line up with life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, principles driven by government of the people, by the people, and for the people. All right, y'all. Hopefully, we're all taking it seriously. Hopefully, we're all going to work on it and do something about it. All right, before I go off, sign off, that is. Let's see who we've got on here tonight. So, Tom, good to see you there, Tom. Thanks for showing up. Tom says, we start with taking all the money Looney Lindsay has or allegedly controls. Because it's Looney Lindsay that says he's going to appropriate $400 million for this ballroom. Then we take the money from Todd Blanche, then from Jay Boozer, Kash Patel. Oh, love that one. I'm going to have to star that there, Tom, so I remember to start using that. Then right down the line, Tom says, Palantir. Imagine reading The Lord of the Rings and thinking Saruman and Sauron were the good guys. Exactly. You know, they read Lord of the Rings and thinks those two guys are the good guys. They read The Handmaid's Tale or see the show and think that's a guide for them on how to operate a government, not a warning. Tom says he's used 5 calls. Yep. As soon as I get off here, I'm using it. Tom, I have direct phone numbers for a senior advisor to my U.S. rep, Morgan McGarvey, who's better than most. Yeah. Actually, I've met McGarvey at a couple of meetings and town halls and really respect that guy. His fight for Medicaid and Medicare and to save them instead of allowing them to go under, it's highly commendable. So he said, Tom says, I have my Kentucky rep's direct phone number, and she responds appropriately when I contact her. That's awesome. Because Guthrie doesn't. Tom, I'm darn lucky in that regard. Yes, you are. There were people concerned that there would not be a midterm elections. I've not been concerned about that, but rather about what fuckery 47 does to suppress the results. Vote in the primaries, folks. Exactly. The primaries are so freaking important. And I'm really going to be disappointed with anyone that did not go register to vote in the primaries. If you're an independent and you couldn't just suck it up for this election that means so much to the outcome of democracy in a republic for my kids and my grandkids, not just to mention myself in the here and now, you really need to sit down and look at yourself. All right. I understand why people are voting independent, but you've got to understand that this is the most important election there ever is. And even if you're an independent, you're going to vote for one of the two parties. Why not choose who it is that's going to be on the ballot so you can't complain later as an independent that you didn't have a good choice to make? We've got so many really good candidates right now for both U.S. Senate position to replace Mitch McConnell and in Congress to replace Guthrie and others around the state. We've got Logan Forsythe. We've got Vincent Thompson. I've had Vincent Thompson on here 3 times. Definitely 2, but I think 3. Logan Forsythe's been on here 1 time. I've met Colonel Pam Stevenson all over the state. I've even seen Amy McGrath out at No Kings rallies and at other functions, community events all over the state. So we've got candidates that are really serious about turning the tide. But Vincent Thompson, our local here in Hardin County, is a cattleman. He is on the conservation district. He's the head of it here in the county. He does a lot of work for us. He understands what our rural economy here in Hardin County is going through. He understands how the interface between our urban areas of Radcliffe and Elizabethtown operate and how they interface with the rural. We've got good folks with good ideas, good policies. But if you can't decide which one of them will be on the ballot because you wouldn't go out and just change your registration for this election and then switch it back to saying independent later, don't cry later when you don't get the candidate that you wanted on the ballot. So talking to some people I know, one in particular right now, won't call them out. although I'm extremely tempted to. Stubbornness. Stubbornness has no place right now. Well, our democracy in a republic is on the line. All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to sign off a little bit here. See what people think about the U.S. soldier that pleads not guilty to charges of gambling on the Maduro ouster. He was on the team of Green Berets that went in and captured Maduro. We know that he is accused of betting on it, making $400,000 on it. Insider trading, you could say. I would act upset if it wasn't for the fact that this is being done by Trump's kids all the time, day in, day out. $50 million handed to Barron Trump to play with the petroleum market right before this Iran war started and during. So, yeah, I'm not calling this guy who put his life on the line for that one. I'm not buying that he needs to be, treated like crap and indicted when we're not indicting anyone else in Congress that does insider trading. So, yeah. She survived the correspondence dinner. What a brave soul she is. Bless her. So, yeah. I hate ballroom. New shell casings from the alleged shooter released by Kash Patel. I hate ballroom. So, yeah, looks like we must need a ballroom then. That's right. All right, y'all. Hopefully you're having a good day. Hopefully you get that 5 calls app. And hopefully we all get really serious about this election. Hopefully, like I said, you're all heading out to vote in this midterms. All right, my wife is calling. Storm's going. I'd love to read more messages, but I got to go. Y'all have a great evening, and I will talk to everyone again tomorrow night. Tom, I know you left a lot of messages here, but again, got my wife calling, so I'm going to see what's happening. And I hope you all, again, don't forget, remember everyone deployed overseas. Bless your corazon, and let's have a great